Okay, thanks Lex for coming on. Lex and I grew up probably about 15, 20 k's apart at a place called Thangool, Central Queensland. And it's probably nearly 37 years since I've seen Lex. But he's been on a real journey and a great story of, and he'll share tonight. So thanks Lex coming on.
Thanks, no worries, mate. Yeah,
so you want to tell a bit about the story growing up?
So basically, we grew up on a farming place. Both myself and my brother and my sister and mum and dad. Small cropping, you know, and it was pretty hard. We went to a local school there and that. So between schooling and coming home and working on the farm, shifting pipes, you know, at a young age, you sort of learn to grow up pretty quickly. You know, it was one of the things. You know, you didn't have much of a choice. That was just what it was. And we had a community, you know, people around us that we grew up with. We, you know, other kids that we used to run around on motorbikes and horses and whatnot. But at the same time, we didn't know much more than that, just working and you know, and had a little bit of sport. Shane, like, you know, my brother, we played cricket and things like that together. But yeah, we saw things as kids as you're growing up, and you weren't quite sure if that was right or that was wrong, you know. And you know, and it sort of stunned you a little bit. I didn't notice much at the time until later on in life, and then went through, you know, seeing, you're unsure of those things, what you saw as a kid. You just took it as naturally, that's what it was, of everybody's family, and, you know, good or bad, right or wrong. At the time, it was just what it was, but it was something was always in the back of my head. So as I went through, I left school quite young. You know, teaching wasn't for me.
Teaching or learning?
Learning wasn't for me either. So I got asked to leave school at a younger age, you know, which is grade 10, you know. So I did, and I started working. I got a job, went out west driving a dozer at 15, and sort of mum gave me the skills to survive, you know, do your washing, cook your feed, and that was it. I went out on a property, ran it. Unsure of life, you know, you're not sure what was going on. It was an adventure, but to me, and I wasn't really good at school, you know, and I had suffered something I didn't realise what I was suffering at that time was dyslexia and things. But I just thought I wasn't the brightest in school, so I just took it down as learning more about life. So I worked with a group of people. They took me under their wing a bit, a family, the Nobses. You know, and I left one property and went to another property and learnt some skills there. And that was life. Yeah, did that for a few years, and I moved away from that. Back into town, I wanted a bit more of an adventure and worked through in town, and I started questioning some of my behaviours of myself. I started drinking a little bit, you know, partying. That was the thing of a small town. You just, you know, you did what everybody else did. That was what, you know, I grew up in. You know, my family, my people around me, they go to the pub and they drink a lot, and I thought that was the part of life. You just drink. And
so going back to school, how do you enjoy school? What was school like for you?
School was a sociable.
Social?
It was a sociable part.
And you felt like you fitted in?
No. Not to the point, because of what I had been, I didn't know I had dyslexia at the time.
Yeah.
So I had teachers, I had people calling me dumb. So I learned how to fight, you know, and learned how to defend myself at a young age, because it was either defend myself or, you know, go further down the rabbit hole. You know.
And did you have many friends at school?
Yeah, because I'd become one of the better fighters.
And you were picked on a bit, so it got you.
Yeah, because I was freckly and white, very white and blondie hair. So I was treated as, you know, more racist in a certain way, as you do, you know, but that was right. I learned how to fight, and I could talk my way out of things. I was good at talking. That come from my family side.
Yeah.
Dad's. So yeah.
Yeah, and what was your relationship like with your dad growing up?
Yeah, as all I looked up to Dad as fathers and sons. You always look up to your father, but I just didn't understand some of the things he was doing as a father. We didn't see much. He worked hard. He was always in the paddock, doing what he thought was right, and then we didn't see him in the paddock. We saw him in the pub buying us chips and soft drink, and that was it, So we didn't see much of him. Mum was more so our father of the, mother. Dad was just working, so it was hard on it, I believe for both of us, as the boys, the daughter was a different, she sort of got, which is lovely,
So that was your impression of being a man, was working hard, going to the pub.
Yeah.
Play hard, work hard.
Work hard. Toughen F up attitude. That was through the little community we lived in too. It was the same thing. I used to go and stay at my friends' places, and some of my friends' places, and their parents were, similar, so we just naturally thought that was what it was. But we never thought, well, what would happen later on in life,
Yeah.
And
so you got to a point in your life you started questioning things.
Yeah, later on in life. So I started working, and only until I went to America as an exchange student at 19, and I was searching at that age, finding a meaning of life. What was life? What could I needed somebody to show me. So I followed the families I was living with. They were quite religious, so I went to their churches and their gatherings, and I couldn't understand, because at that time, American was pretty gung-ho, and they really, they really threw it in your face. The church, and I had been working for 3 years at that stage, so I had been quite rigid in my way. I had sort of found my way of life, how to get through life. So I built the ego on myself already. So I went to America and never really fitted into that community either, that way of religion. But I was interested. So I searched through 3 or 4 different religions, trying to search for God and what God somebody could tell me what God was going to do for me, help me, because I didn't. So and then I came back. I lost faith in that. I didn't understand. I thought it was a load of bullshit. Excuse the French, but that was basically what it was. I couldn't believe anybody, so I went back to my way of doing things again. So I hardened up a bit more in the word of harden up. That was my personality. And I come back to play rugby league and obviously went back to searching for my dad again. But at that age time, we started arguing a lot. And some of the things I wasn't happy with was him yelling and screaming, especially, towards, but that was nature. That was what life was. It was not with my father, it was with everybody I knew, fathers. So I just thought that was just how it was, but I didn't want that in my life. So I would leave that work and I would go find other work. And then I started drinking more. Drinking was like, seemed to give me relief. Then the odd joint wasn't too bad back then days. But then I started exploring into other drugs, but only for party reasons. But that started confusing me more. It sort of just... And then I went overseas to play rugby league, and that was just a party scene. I was good at things, but I never took it seriously. Then I came back and I went into partnership with my mother and father, searching. My father wanted me to do it. He thought it was a good idea. He settled me down at 22 and a half, 23, to start a business with him. And I thought, yeah, right, that would be great. I said, but I didn't want him to be a part of it because I knew that we would only argue. So I made a contract with him that he could not be a part of the business. He'd be just a financial silent partner, which really, anybody knows my father, that really made it hard for him because he was always wanting to be a controlling person of that nature.
So that was successful?
Yeah. We did 9 years of that, and it was a very good business. And I excelled in that business because I was good at doing things. And once I got my head into something, it distracted my thoughts. Distracted, but under that, there was an underlying part of that no one knew. My brother probably did not know, and people in the town did not know. I was starting to decay. I was starting to lose sight of myself, where I wanted to be, who I wanted to be. I was pleasing everybody else. I became a successful business within the town, and I became my ego was running really high. And that was built by me. It was not built by anybody.
What was the crunch point then?
It was towards the end of the business when I just, I had to go to the next level of the business, as we all do, as any businesses do. You can't stay in idle. You got to keep chugging along. And I just felt in myself that I couldn't go that next level, and I wanted out. And obviously the business, was doing so well, and it was actually, I walked into the local pie shop in Billawilla, and I walked out of the pie shop, and a gentleman who I used to supply concrete just bumped into me. He was coming out of the pie shop, and his son had taken his life only a year before that. And I just literally bumped on his shoulder, and he said to me, just at random, he said, "Oh, you okay, Lex?" And I said, "Oh, mate, perfect." And he looked me in the eyes, just grabbed my eyes, and I couldn't get away from his eyes, looked me straight in the eyes, and he said, "Are you okay, mate?" And I could feel myself getting emotional. I said, "Oh, no, she's good, mate, no problem at all." And he put his hand on my shoulder, he said, "You ever need to talk to somebody, mate, come to see me." And he just walked off. Didn't say a word to me from that point on. And then I went back to work, didn't think much of it, and went home. And by that time, I was living in a remote area of my own. I had bought some land, built my house, just myself.
And what was your business that you had?
It was a concrete business, and by that time, I had made a crushing plant, built up a crushing plant too. So I was delivering concrete and crusher plants. It was 1 truck to 5 trucks to about 12 blokes at the time, at the end of the business. So it was, it was, like I said, I was running high. It couldn't ask for any better, but I was running low. My batteries were burning out. And
was suicide, did you consider suicide?
The only reason I had thought about it, because at the time, that couple of years there was kids, younger people than I was, were taking their lives. And so I thought of that in reference to where I was. But at the time, I just kept saying my business needed me. But that day of Phil, the gentleman who saw me, bumped into me, he had brought this emptiness out of me, this spot, and I had to question myself. So it was the next day after I had ran into this gentleman that I went home from work, because I used to get up at 3 and get home at 6 or 7 at night. That was my routine, 6 days a week. Play football, party hard Saturday night, get up, either work Sunday or have a Sunday off. But I came home that second day after I ran into this gentleman, and did a little routine, went out in the veranda. It was I used to watch the sunset in the west, and I overlooked a big reservoir lake, and I just, it was my time of peace. I turned my mobile off, no one could get me. So I was just in my own peace of silence, and I sat on the veranda outside my room, got a beer, went and grabbed a joint, and just had a couple of sips of the beer, had a smoke and a joint, and that was the way of my relaxation. That was the way I could switch off from the outside world. Went and grabbed a gun, 22 Magnum of my uncle's, and I had it at the house, and sat it beside me for a minute, and I had this powering to take my life just there and then. Just a bang. It was just within. I amused myself for the thought of it, and then I just grabbed the gun, put it in my mouth. And then it was just, once again, it was just a split second out of the corner of my right eye as I was looking pretty well due west through the tree line. There was a tree line. I just saw this white light. It was in the afternoon. There was no stars around or anything. It was just the sun setting over the power station. And I just saw this white light out of the corner of my eye. It just like a bang, snapped my head. And I've just awoken. Just there and then, I just shit my pants, more or less, grabbed the gun, unloaded it, threw the gun over the fence, and just burst out in tears. And
so what was the white light, you reckon?
To this day, knowing what I know now, I believe it was my angel. It was, the other part of me, the higher part of me. And in my heart, there was a part of me that says, you got more, Lex. There's more to you, man. There's more to you. So we need you to stay here longer. And like I said, I wasn't any religion at the time. I wasn't even spiritual at the time. But in my heart, I knew something. And that was who I was. So basically, that from that day on, I changed, my life. I sold the business within 12 months. Cleared out, sold my house, sold everything. And I had to leave the town that I grew up in because that was the programming of, good or bad, didn't matter, but it was a programming of where I was right there and then. I had to get away from that and go really find myself. I didn't even know if I was male or I was female or I was pink or I was green. Or, I just wanted to, I could have this voice in my side that I've always heard, but I was too scared to admit it because if I went and talked to somebody in the local town or talked to somebody, I would have said, you're gay or you're fucking weird or you're a flipper or, what are you, mate? You're toughen up. Or that attitude would have come out. No, I used to dish that attitude out to people to say, toughen up, but I couldn't do it myself. So, that was the turning point. And then basically I sold my business. Within another 12 months, I took off to travel the world and I started reading books, self-healing books. I read, just reevaluated the church a little bit more. Shane, he went to, my brother, went to a boarding school, St. Brennan's, and Shane helped me with, he had some, he had read the Bible and he had read a few things, but it didn't fit with me. It didn't seem to, I didn't seem to find that. So I went and then fell down connected to a spiritual part of myself, which was in the yoga scene. And then spent time over the next 5 years living in spiritual communities, ashrams, and living in places where it was silence. And if you really want to find yourself, go stand under a tree and just listen to nature, and it really inhales what's inside you, So and that was a big part of my journey. It was really that awakening, and then it made me listen to more what is inside, and then I could find this soul, this really love for myself, which I didn't,
So you reckon it was a search of identity?
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. The identity and
Fine.
being appreciating to be in love with myself. As much as that might all sound a bit weird, but I had to find that I could love myself.
Accept yourself first.
For who I am,
Yeah.
Not for what I could do for somebody or what I could achieve or what I could, money didn't mean shit at the end of the day. Money was the easiest thing to be able to do, but to find this companionship of one for oneself, it's a difficult, especially when you grow up and you've been told, to be something else that not wanting to be, So, and that's, I felt, was a really hard battle.
Yeah. So how long? So you spent 5 years, then end up in Vietnam. Is that part part of that 5 years, or?
Yeah. I had travelled. Came back to Australia, bought another plane ticket. Obviously, I had some, money to get, but I didn't need much money because I was living, very cheaply and living off the beach type of thing. And I've really went down to no alcohol, no. I sort of went down a more of a nun way, of a preach way, where I gave up the higher part of myself, my ego, to give myself the chance to understand. So I did that for 5 years, and then I ended back up in. I traveled and just living in people's backyards and living with the Indigenous of the world. Found myself in all different amazing places and learning the practicality of life, how to live.
What's some of those amazing places you found yourself?
I was funny enough in Prague, Czech Republic. It was one of the weirdest, something really extreme. Austria in the Alps, living in the Alps.
In a monastery there.
In a monastery, yeah. And it was great because I had skills, so it was easy to barter. It was great, and it was beautiful because I would just sit with these amazing people. And Asia was one of those extraordinary places. Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in Vietnam. Asia was a place where it was a big healing for me. It was a big bombshell healing.
Whereabouts?
In Asia.
Yeah.
I had left, gone back to Australia, got back into trying to do business. Just couldn't deal with it. I just didn't want to be in the business scene anymore. Money wasn't, I didn't feel that I needed to go to that chasing the money side of thing. So I took off and went back to, by that time I had done quite a lot of yoga and I'd become a yoga teacher. So I went back to Vietnam. I had been through Asia, done a lot of voluntary work, working in NGOs and orphanage centres, and just giving back.
And so you spent a fair bit of time in orphanages?
Yeah. And that's just, here I was thinking I was giving something to them, but they were giving me everything. They were giving me life.
What are some of the experiences you experienced in the orphanages?
They're not that well run. No disrespect to the systems that are set up. A lot of them are Western scenarios, but there's a lot of greed within that. But the experiences of seeing these amazing little kids, made no fingers because of the Cambodia being, but they couldn't do things, but they could do everything. They were just such an amazing thing because of the landmines and things like that. Same thing in a bit of Lao, and but they were just really, the smiles on their faces just meant 1,000 words. It was just extraordinary, the passion they had for life.
Yeah.
It was just overwhelming. It was just a joke. It was really humbling. For them to come in, you'd be a complete stranger to them, but they'll be giving you their food. And here I'm the white boy, here to give them something, and they, no, their families, just give up, kick the kid out of the bed to put you in the bed. You're like a guide to them. It was really interesting. At that time, I had studied a lot of. By that time, I'm actually had gone more spiritual into Buddhism, and I'd lived in monasteries in Asia, and not because I was searching for. I had known myself by that stage, but I was interested in a spiritual part of it, the journey, and it just made more sense to me. Not to be, to preach, it just seemed to be very simple. That was probably the word.
Mm.
Simple.
And in Vietnam, you found your real love.
Yeah. Then I went back to Vietnam. Obviously, I kept teaching. I was in Ho Chi Minh. It's quite a busy city. It's too busy for me. Any city's quite overwhelming. The energy, I couldn't handle. I wasn't really into that. So I went down to the coast of Vietnam, south coast of Vietnam, and a lot of And I set up a little business there. Funny enough, I didn't think I wouldn't do business anymore, but it was a different value. It was a different mindset. I teach yoga, had a vegetarian restaurant, and had a little gym, and very, very relaxed. You know, it's such a relaxed state of mind, you know. In a very busy touristy area, but I sort of learned the language, and I would take off on weekends and take rice to the hills, go live with the Indigenous people for a while, and then go back the weekends to Ho Chi Minh and teach yoga to the orphanage kids. I had a Smile group, was the name of the group I used to spend time with, and you know, so and then fell in love with my beautiful wife. Yeah, so I've got 3 amazing kids.
Got three amazing kids, a boy and a girl and a little boy.
Yeah,
and they're just beautiful. And they've just become just in 2 weeks, our kids just love them and talk about them all the time. They play together, so it's been really special.
Yeah, no, it's a big thing. And now being a dad, you know, I'm travelling around Australia at the present time, just showing them life. You know, the simplicity of life, learning the skills of life. You know, common sense, give them the skills of common sense. You know, what's right and what's wrong, and you know, we were grateful enough to be done this as kids ourselves. But so yeah, just doing that now. And
what's your other priorities now? What's important to you now?
Giving my children a chance to make their own mind up and to be sportive, whether they want to wear pink or blue, or whether they want to be a girl or boy, or whether they want to fly from the towers or dig a hole. It does not worry me. It's just, but allow them to. You've got to find respect within yourself first. To teach them that, but you can't learn that straight away. It's just one of those things they learn over time. If you can respect yourself, you'll respect other things and other people. So it's a hard thing to find respect for yourself. When you're bombarded, especially in this day and age, there's too many devices and too much BS out there confusing people, and it confuses me, you know. And I've found my way through it now. But I feel that you've got to give the simplicity and give them love. You know, I mean, that was something I was searching from my elders at the time. You know, I never heard that. I never heard
that you're loved.
I was loved. You know, I love you. You know,
did you feel accepted?
No.
Never felt.
No. It was, everything was too busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because you're toughened up. You know, get on that. You know, get out there and shoot the pipes. Do this, do that. You know, and that mattered. That was in everybody's farm I went to, everybody's property as a young child before I left home. But one of the things, you know, they gave me the respect. I learned a lot from that to appreciate the skills of life. You know, it's not hard to work. You know, but you got to show respect. People you work for, show them respect, which is that respect for yourself. So it's a great concept that I didn't know what I had. So when I went to work, I worked with good people who showed me respect at young ages. You know, like I was driving dozers and driving trucks without licenses, you know, for a long period of time, so I didn't know I had that until later on in life, which that was already. There was a positive side to it all. You know, It's all positive. There's no anger to anybody, because you hold anger to somebody, you got anger inside yourself still.
Yeah.
So you can't be angry. No.
That's good. Anything else you'd like to say to the guys? Yeah,
you know, one of the things I talk to people about is that. It's no good. It's the worst part about it, if you've got something you want to talk about, you go talk to somebody about something, they want to fix it. Somebody wants to fix your problem. It's hard to do that, mate. Or a complete stranger is the best person to talk to for some time, because they don't know you, and it gets it off your chest. We've got to get it off our chest. If you keep it on your chest, it chews away at you. And then that moment can happen. It's out of the blue, man. It's just bang. You know, you could have a shit of a day, and all of a sudden you're there in that moment. it's that roller coaster ride. If you can allow yourself to, which is, you know, these are great things. You know, technology is a good thing if you can share it. It might sound silly to somebody, to you, but to somebody, it won't be silly. Because there's a message in that. Sharing.
Yeah. That's what you're doing now, sharing, travelling around with your wife, kids. What you've done an amazing job on a bus. You bought a $7,500 Mercedes bus and decked it out. One of the best fit outs I've seen of buses, and travelling around Australia with his family for 12 months and showing his family Australia. So
we can do anything. We're able to do anything. Never doubt. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Lex.